Hello viewers, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are diving into one of the most important tasks in data analysis, that is joining datasets using R's powerful dplyr package. When you're working with clinical trial data, combining data tables is something you will do all the time. And the good news is that with dplyr, it's incredibly simple and elegant. We will break down the differences between inner join, left join, right join, and full join step by step with examples which you can try on your own. So, if you are ever confused by joins or want to improve your R skills, you are in the right place. Let's get started and master data joins with dplyr. So for this video, I will be using the dplyr package, and for all the viewers who are using the RStudio for the first time and has not installed the dplyr package at any point on time in your RStudio, I suggest them to install the dplyr package in your RStudio before using the dplyr package. Since I have already installed the dplyr package in my RStudio, I will only need to call or load the dplyr package in my current R session, which I can do using the library statement. So right now, by running this statement, I have loaded the dplyr package, and I can use the joining functionality of the dplyr in my R session. Joining data in R using dplyr is conceptually very similar to how we join datasets in SAS. The goal is the same, to combine rows from the two tables based on common key variables. However, the syntax is different and there is one key behavior difference worth noting. So before we go into the difference between SAS and R in joining, let's see what code we can write to join the datasets in R first. So for this purpose, I have created two data frames by the name of table A and table B. The table A is having the variable ID, visit, and age, and is having four records or observations, which are for ID variables 001, 002, 003, and 004. Similarly, for table B, I have the ID variable, the visit variable, and the sex variables, where ID variables are having the value of 001, 002, 004, and 005. The 005 ID value in data frame table B is not present in table A, and similarly, the ID value 003 is not present in your table B. So now let's run this two uh, statements and create the table A and table B. You can see that table A is having 1, 2, 3, and 4 ID variables with their respective visit, which is visit and age. And similarly for table B, we have ID 1, 2, 4, and 5, and the respective visit and sex variables. Now let's go to the first inner join. To, to combine two tables using the inner join, we can use the inner underscore join function in R. It will take three arguments to join using the inner join. The first is x equals to, then the data frame name, which will tell the first data frame which has to be used, and y equals to another table data frame, which is the second data frame name which we want to join with the data frame which we have mentioned in x equals to argument. Then the next one is the by statement or the by argument. And in this argument, we will mention the variable by which we want to join these two data frames. So right now, I am using only one uh, variable name by which I want to combine these two data frames. And another point to note here is the variable names which we are mentioning in the by argument has to be in double quotes. So let's run this statement and see the resultant data frame. So now the data frame data df.in is created, and you will note that it is having only three observations. So why the three? Because if we are joining by the id variables, and for id variables 1, 2, and 4 were the only common variable value records or values which were present in both the data frames. So there were three observations, but why five variables? So let's see the data frame. So now you can see the ID is having 1, 2, and 4 as expected, but the visit column is is a column which is having two type of visits, that like the visit.x and visit.y. So why it is happening here? You will note here that the visit.x is the values of the visit values which were present in my table A. You can see the visit one ID 1, 2, and 4 were having the visit 1, 1, 1. And if you see the table B, which is for ID 1, 2, and 4, I was having the visit value 1, 1, and 2. So for ID 4, visit was 2 in my table B. So right now in my df underscore in data frame, you can see that the visit.x is the values of visit column from my table A, and visit.y is the values of visit from my table B. So why this is happening? In SAS, when a variable is common to both dataset and is not used as a by variable, the second dataset version of that variable will overwrite the one from the first dataset during a merge. But that is not happening in R. In R, when we use the inner join or left join, right join, or full join, if a variable is present in both dataset but not included in the by equals to argument, R will retain both, renaming them automatically to avoid overwriting, and is using the suffixes like .x and .y. So here you can see that instead of overwriting the visit column values as was expected in SAS, what R is doing is R is keeping both the both the values from both the data sets or the data frames, and creating another uh, new column with, and renaming the common variable with the suffix .x and .y respectively. So it's a key difference between the join between when we compare the joining in SAS and R. So when you are joining, use any two data sets or data frames in R, please make sure that you are using the correct by variables in the by equals to argument. Similarly, now let's go through the left join. And as the name suggests, left join will join the two dataset but will keep all the records from my dataset which is mentioned in my x equals to argument. And if we talk about the right join, it will also do the same thing, but it will keep all the records from my y equals to argument here. So let's run these two statements and see the resultant datasets. Now, this is the left join, and you can see that we are keeping all the records, all the values which are ID values 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 4 from my table A, which I have mentioned in my x equals to argument here. And you can see that visit.x and visit.y is being created as we have discussed for the inner join here. Same if I run for my right join also. Here you can see my records coming from my table B are coming. All the records from my table B with the values, ID values of 1, 2, 4, and 5 are coming as expected. Now let's talk about the scenario that if in case we do not mention any by variables or the uh, variables by which we want to join the two dataset, then how it will work. In that scenario, when no key is specified, the default value is null and it uses all the variables that appear in both dataset as the by variables. So now let's see, if we are not mentioning any by argument, how the join for inner join for table A and table B will work. Please note that we have two common variables here, and these are ID and visit values. So now let's run this and we will see that now only two observations are created. Why the two observations are created? Earlier, when we were joining the inner join, we were having three observations, and 1, 2, and 4 were the ID variables for which the inner join was created when we were using the by argument as ID. But when we are not mentioning any argument, then only ID value 1 and 2 are coming. The ID value 4 is being dropped. Why it is being dropped? Because as we have seen that for ID value 4, there were two different values of visit in both the tables, table A and table B. So when we have not mentioned any by argument, it is taking ID as well as the visit variable as the joining variables by default. So the resultant data set, when we are joining these two, table A and table B, as an inner join, the ID4 is getting dropped. Now let's talk about a scenario where we want to join using multiple key variables. As we have discussed multiple times in my earlier videos on R programming, when we want to give a list of more than one values, then we will use the combine function. So the combine function is the C function here. And since I want to use more than one variable as my key variables, I am using the combine function. And here you can see that I have used the ID and the visit variables as my by argument variables here, and using the left join. Another point to note is that both the variables are in double quotes separated by comma here in my combined function. So now let's see the left join on table A and table B when we are using the ID and the visit as the key variables or the by variables. So here you can see we have the resultant left join, that is we are having the values of 1, 2, and 3, and 4 coming here. Now this data set is being joined using the ID and the visit value. Another point to note here is that since my by variables were of ID and visit, the visit value of 2 from table B is not being kept in the resultant data set, because visit equals to 2 for my ID4 was not there in my uh, table A, and I have used the left join here. But let's try this if we want to do a full join between table A and table B by ID and the visit variables as my by variables here. So what will be the result of it? So now you will see that since it is a full join, that means that I want to keep all the records, either it is from table A or table B in my resultant data set. You can see that all the ID values for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 all are coming. But another point to note here is that for ID value 4, I am having two records in my data frame. Why? Because here my visit variable, which I'm also using as my the second by variables here, I have two different values, 1 and 2, in these two data sets. So you can see that for the record, which is for ID 4 and visit 1, which was present in my table A, only age is populated. And since this record was not present in table B, the sex is missing. But when the second scenario, which is when for ID 4, the visit is equals to 2, this was present only in my table B. So my sex is getting populated, but my age is not getting populated. So it's important to note that when you are joining two datasets, please make sure that you mention the bias variables uh, properly, so that if we are having any two common variables, we are selecting those variables properly so that the resultant data set is having the records which you want. Right now, in this example here, you see that the age and sex are not populated for both, and I don't think I can use these two records for any purpose. The joining of these two records is of no use to me as of now. So please make sure that while joining, you mention the by variables sensibly and as per your data. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Let me know in comments if you want me to cover any specific topic. Till then, have a nice day.